Hey everybody, welcome back to Firm and Final. A quick 5 minutes with what's going on in the stop loss industry. And this week's topic is GLP-1s. And I'm not the guy who talks about GLP-1s. I'm typically the guy who's talking about gene therapies. The reason why I'm talking about GLP-1s today is I'm really inspired by a video that Dr. Eric Bricker posted on LinkedIn last week, where he spoke about the cost of GLP-1s and what might be some short-term trends with the cost and the utilization increasing with GLP-1s. Now, GLP-1s are for weight loss, and they're also for diabetes. And when it comes to weight loss, not everybody, not all health plans, not all self-funded employers are covering the use of GLP-1s for obesity. And that seems to be a place of a lot of controversy. You don't hear the stop loss market talking a lot about GLP-1s. And the reason for that is very simple. GLP-1s cost about $9,000 to $10,000 a year. Let's say the average stop loss deductible is $150,000. And most stop loss carriers are buying reinsurance. And so let's say the reinsurer kicks in at $2 million. Well, guess what? Reinsurers are not paying very many GLP-1 claims, if any. So it's not on their radar at all. And really for the same reason, a lot of stop loss carriers are not super informed about GLP-1s either. Because if a GLP-1 costs $9,000 to $10,000, it just doesn't rise to the top, rise to the level where a stop loss carrier is going to concern themselves about it. Now, here's the one caveat to that. There's two products in stop loss. There's specific, which is the $150,000 deductible, and there's aggregate, and a $10,000 GLP-1 claim falls under that aggregate coverage. And so that's a space that could be getting worse in the near future, and that's why stop loss carriers need to think long and hard about this issue. Now, in that video that Dr. Bricker put up, he said something extremely profound at the end of his video. He said that GLP-1 usage for obesity could increase by a factor of 25 times. And if you just start doing some math, what does that mean to aggregate spend? It means that employers are going to be spending a lot of money on GLP-1 medication. And in fact, they're already spending a lot of money on pharmacy in general. Pharmacy used to be like 10% of the total spend. Now it's close to 25 to 26% of total spend. It's projected to be up to 40 to 50% of total spend in the next 5 to 6 years. That's a big increase. And the profound thing he said was, this could cause employers to want to ditch employer-sponsored healthcare and really move to single payer. I've been thinking about that issue from the gene therapy side, because when you think about the self-insured marketplace, that self-insured marketplace is propped up by about 100 stop-loss carriers. That market is roughly a $40 billion industry. And a lot of those stop-loss carriers are then backed by reinsurers. Now, some of your largest stop-loss carriers, they're buying reinsurance. They might be using capital-motivated reinsurance, or they may be buying at really high excess levels. But almost every stop-loss carrier is buying some form of reinsurance protection. With gene therapy claims being as high as they are, they could cause reinsurers to exit this space. And if that happens and stop-loss carriers lose that capital that backs them, that could cause a lot of stop-loss carriers to exit the space. And without having stop-loss coverage, that puts the entire self-funded industry at risk. If you listen to what Dr. Bricker is saying, he's saying the same exact thing, but he's coming from the complete opposite side. He's looking at it from purely the employer's spend perspective. And forget about stop-loss and reinsurance for a second. Employers have to cover, if you're 100% self-insured, you got to pay all the claims anyways. But even if you are a stop-loss buyer, you still have to pay your expected claims, your aggregate claims, up until that stop-loss attachment point. And as these new specialty therapies come to play, especially GLP-1s, that could cause costs to go out of control. And if that happens, we could see a time when the employer-sponsored market from a self-funded perspective goes away and we move more towards a single-payer system. And I agree with Dr. Bricker that that's not something that's going to happen here in the next 2 to 3 years, but it's something to keep an eye on. It could happen in the next 5 to 10 years. When I think about that from a philosophical perspective, I don't want to see that happen, but in order for this industry to sustain, the industry has to develop solutions. It's got to develop solutions for gene therapy. It's got to develop solutions for GLP-1s. And that's it for this week. We'll talk to you next time.